very warm welcome to our virtual panel discussion on sustainable fish production in Brazil and Europe. Good morning to Brazil and good evening to Europe. My name is Tanja Busse. I am a German author writing on all the questions of sustainable agriculture, of sustainable transformation of the food system, and this is why I'm really excited to be your moderator today. And I'm also excited that so many of you from all over the world have joined this session, have accepted the invitation of the Academia Brasileira de Ciências and also of the German National Academy of Sciences of the Leopoldina. We have 162 registrations of 18 countries and 5 continents, and that's really, really great. And if you like, here comes an invitation by my side. Please use the chat and tell us your name, your affiliation, and also maybe your experience with aquaculture, so we know who we are in this kind of global community of people, of experts also being interested in sustainable aquaculture. 2 young scientists will present their experience and their recommendations for aquaculture and how to make it more sustainable and how to improve its strengths. And we will discuss these findings with different perspectives, politics, science, and also the aquaculture industry to find solutions both for Brazil and Europe. And this is very important because aquaculture can contribute to food security in both countries as a healthy and efficient source of protein. With oceans and rivers being more and more depleted. I'm here talking from Hamburg, very close to the Baltic Sea, where fishermen are facing serious problems because the Baltic Sea cod has nearly disappeared. Throughout the world, we find that fisheries, wild capture of fish is not increasing, but nearly decreasing. And in the meantime, the global production of aquaculture has grown strongly in the recent years. But we have seen it's very concentrated to few countries. So in 1950, there were only 20 million tons of fish coming from aquaculture. And in 22, that number has risen to 185 million tons. So you see it's a sharp increase, but still there are some environmental problems. And we do have a concentration on few countries like China, Norway, and Chile. But others like Germany and Brazil have huge potential for producing more fish from aquaculture. And we do also have debates on rising public concern on animal welfare, and we want to discuss this too. How can we convince consumers to buy sustainable fish from sustainable aquaculture? So we want to know how to make aquaculture more sustainable, regional embedded, and circular also by reusing the waste water and by using all these new technologies that came to help sustainability questions. We invite you to send us your questions by using the Q&A button below. Here downstairs you find the menu, and in the menu you find the button Q&A, and you can also rank the questions that others have asked, so we take the questions then that are most interesting for the biggest number of participants. If you have technical questions, please open the chat and contact the team of Leopoldina. They will help you with any technical questions. So let's get started. First, we will find out what the report by the 2 academias are going to tell us. And 2 of the young authors, they will tell us their key findings and their recommendations for politics and also for the markets. Dr. Christopher Shaw from Germany, welcome to our panel, and also Dr. Ivor Guidini Lopes from Brazil. There you are, welcome. Nice to see you. Dr. Ivor Guidini Lopes, you are a biologist, but your passion is not Brazilian birds that we are very familiar with in Germany, but a more technical matter, it's organic waste management, and you dream of a future where waste of a kind of future without waste where everything becomes circular. You obtained a PhD degree in aquaculture from the Sao Paulo State University, and currently you are in Sweden at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. Welcome and thanks for joining. And next to you, there is Dr. Christopher Shaw, and you are a postdoc researcher at the German Leibniz Institute of Freshwater Ecology and Inland Fisheries in Berlin. You are a geographer by training, and you earned a Master of Science in Fish Biology, Fisheries, and Aquaculture at the Humboldt University of Berlin. But you also have practical experience, having worked as a farm manager at a land-based Atlantic salmon facility in Switzerland, actually, far from the Atlantic. And currently you're part of the aquaculture research team of the Leibniz Institute, where you work in the team to make aquaculture more sustainable. Christopher Shaw, over to you. The both of you, you have 8 minutes to present your recommendations, but we'll start at Berlin. Christopher, what are your recommendations?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Everybody sees my presentation?
Yes. Yes, very good.
Okay. All right. First of all, thank you all for joining so numerously today and coming together to kick off a conversation with us on how aquaculture could increasingly become a cornerstone of a resilient and sustainable global food system, and especially also in regions with so far untapped potential, such as Brazil and Europe. So, my name is Chris Shaw from the IGB in Berlin, and together with this enthusiastic group of young scientists from Brazil and Europe, we came together in a one-week workshop to lay the basis for what would later become our science policy report with the title Advancing Sustainability and Circularity in Aquaculture to Build a Resilient Global Food System. And in this report, we primarily focused on the means and measures that could foster the growth of sustainable aquaculture in both of our regions. And as a baseline, we assume aquaculture to be a highly diverse, efficient, and globally expanding industry, vital for the supply of healthy aquatic animal protein for the world's population. And as a case in point, today aquaculture already provides 57% of all aquatic animal protein consumed by us humans. And as already kindly introduced by Dr. Busse, aquaculture has experienced tremendous growth throughout the last decades. However, certain regions have not participated in this development in the same manner. And so we do believe that there is potential in a way to move and increasingly improve aquaculture to become a more important cornerstone of a resilient, efficient, sustainable, and resilient global food system, especially in the face of the multitude of challenges that await us, such as population growth, demand increase through increased prosperity, and climate change-induced pressure, also in regions that have not been part of this development. And specifically, Brazil and Germany have been not part of this wave of growth of aquaculture, at least not to the full extent, and do face challenges. With 10 and 14 kilograms of annual per capita fish consumption, they both lag considerably behind the global average of 21 kilograms. And despite the sheer vastness of the country, the resource richness, and the suitable climate variability of Brazil, Brazil still is not one of the top aquaculture countries worldwide yet, and faces challenges with regards to the diversity of cultured species, with 2/3 of the entire production volume actually being made of tilapia, whereas suitable native species such as pirarucu or tambaqui take a back seat. And even though fish consumption is quite low in the country, import dependence is still high, with 1/3 of the entire production volume still being imported. However, Germany, on the other hand, takes self-sufficiency, or rather the lack thereof, to an entirely new level, with only 2% of the fish consumed in the country actually coming from domestic aquaculture. So on the demand and the supply side, both countries feature substantial untapped potential. However, this potential is also contrasted with a variety of challenges, such as climate change burdens, high production costs, especially in Germany, a lack of a specialized aquaculture labor force, and also poor public perception with regards to aquaculture and aquaculture products. And finally, excessive bureaucracy combined with a lack of consistent regulation when it comes to licensing new projects and regulating existing ones. However, we do believe, and this is our future, our vision for the future, that it is possible to expand sustainable and especially increasingly circular freshwater aquaculture in both of our regions that on the one hand minimize environmental impacts and on the other hand ensure economic and social viability. And in order for this vision to manifest, we have to focus on location-specific production technologies and species, i.e. choosing the right tool for the job. Then we have to improve public perception of aquaculture in a fact-based manner. And then finally, and extremely importantly, we have to be supported by strong political will for a more prosperous aquaculture future. And with this, I would like to hand over to Eva, my colleague from Brazil, who will go into detail on the recommendations from our policy report.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Okay, so considering the points raised by Chris and the identified gaps and needs for aquaculture in both our countries, we elaborated, of course, a few recommendations in the policy report in which we pinpoint each knowledge gap that we as an interdisciplinary team of scientists with varying backgrounds, but of course, one common interest and dedication into aquaculture we discussed around. So first of all, regarding policy and regulation, we identified the need for introducing more aquaculture officers in different municipalities in both countries, aiming at improving the guidance of entrepreneurs throughout the whole licensing and the implementation process, which is very important. And this would ultimately reduce barriers and attract more people into the business itself. And also, of course, streamlining bureaucracy is a strong need for the sector in order to facilitate implementation of new farms and new businesses as well. In relation to consumer awareness, which is one topic that we'll discuss a lot today, we pointed out the possibility of offering meals based on sustainable aquaculture projects in sort of a similar fashion to, for instance, the federal regulation that we have in Brazil, the 11947, that demands that at least 30% of all resources of our national school feeding program comes from family-based agriculture, and they should be organic. So something similar could be politically stimulated for adding sustainable aquaculture products in schools and other fronts as well in the country. Another two very important recommendations we considered are about launching mainstream programs in strategic channels for increasing the social awareness of the benefits of aquaculture itself, and of course the consumption of its products, as well as the intensification of training programs in the attempt of bringing fish farming as a clear career path for both our countries. And finally, the last recommendations on the topic of science and innovation, which we discussed a lot in the workshop. We talked about the strong need for developing technological packages, especially ones that aims at local species, such as the case of tambaqui and pirarucu, like Chris mentioned, which are species that we have in Brazil that they have incredible aquaculture potential, that we do think should gather a little bit more political interest in order to achieve something closer to like a technological degree that we have today for tilapia, or even thinking about the future for poultry production. Why not, right? And finally, stimulating the co-development of best management practice involving actors from several fronts. So fish farmers, processing industry, scientists like us, and actors working in rural extension, which is extremely important. And after these recommendations, I would like to close by saying that we firmly believe that aquaculture can be a driving force for sustainable development and for a better health for people worldwide. And we are very confident that by working together, scientists, policymakers, industry, and citizens alike, of course, we can really make this vision a reality. So that's it for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ivo, and also Christopher. That was very brilliant time management, first of all. And I think they are very, very clear and very obvious recommendations. And I'm really curious what our panelists, coming both from fishery industry and also from politics, our administration, tell us about the feasibility of making these visions real life. Let me present the panel to you. First, there is, representing the Brazilian Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Ives Feitosa Duarte. Welcome to our panel. There you are. Speaking for the German Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture, it's Stefan Hübner with us. Mr. Hübner, welcome to you. And coming from Sao Paulo, representing the Brazilian Association of Fish Farming, there is João Manuel Cordeiro Alves. Welcome to our panel. Please switch on your camera. Okay, we'll see you in a minute, I guess. And representing
Thank you.
fish. There you are. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya.
We also have a representative of a German fish farm coming from the German countryside, very close to the Dutch border. It is Kaiserzander, and Marco Burr is there to talk about that. Welcome to our panel. We've seen you before. There you are. Thank you so much for joining. Let's start in Brazil. First, we're going to listen to the perspective of administration, and then we switch over to the fishery industries. And I would like to ask Ives Feitosa Duarte to start. He is a veterinarian specialized in wildlife medicine with a lot of experience treating animals in the wild, but currently you are a technical analyst at the National Aquaculture Secretariat of the Brazilian Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. How do you assess the recommendations? Will you follow them?
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to participate on this webinar and talk a little bit about the sustainable development of aquaculture. So in the Brazilian context, the report's recommendations are technically feasible and urgently needed, but there are significant challenges related to institutional capacity, regulatory fragmentation, cultural resistance, and high costs. So what's the biggest challenge for us in the moment? The biggest challenges are related to providing technical assistance to the small producers throughout the whole country that is continental and have lots of very distant places and lots of different realities among the different regions and biomes in Brazil, like Amazonia, Pantanal, Cerrado, Caatinga, Mata Atlântica, and the Pampas. And number two will be the bureaucracy involved in the licensing of aquaculture enterprises, like was pointed in the report. So, where can we act more quickly to solve these problems? So, number one, we have the training of public officials and the producers, of course, and our ministry is always working to facilitate the partnerships and investments to improve this technical assistance provided in all states and providing a greater support to our producers, as well as fostering scientific research throughout the universities and integrate the sectors to promote this sustainable growth of aquaculture. Number two, you're having a simplified and clear licensing. So at the present moment, we are in the process of reviewing the resolution that indicates the criteria and serves like a guidance for the environmental licensing of aquaculture enterprises in Brazil, and trying to make it more appropriate to the recent knowledge that we have in the field. And we are trying to simplify this regularization procedure, obviously according to the environmental laws and in cooperation with other entities in the country, principally for the small aquaculture enterprises considered to have low environmental impact, who are the vast majority in our country and our major public, and we are always trying to bring these producers closer to us. So these are relatively feasible steps with the potential for great impact in the sector, especially if implemented in coordination between the state governments, universities, entities like Embrapa, and local associations. This allows us for building trust and good results, effectively serving as replicable models. And I think the pillars of the sustainable development in aquaculture and or agriculture in general involve the integration of scientific knowledge through research and innovations, technical assistance to disseminate and apply this information to the farmers, and the good public policies, which create this regulatory and supportive environment for sustainability to ensure that production practices are environmentally sound, socially just, and economically viable, ensuring food security and well-being for the future generations. That's it.
Thank you so much for offering both obstacles and also solutions. And to hear, it's great to hear that they are already on the way to disseminate the knowledge about these great chances. Now let's listen to the situation in Germany. Stefan Hübner, you are Deputy Fisheries Director at the German Federal Ministry. We have a new name for this ministry. It's Agriculture, Food and Homeland or Regional Identity. And you are a lawyer and with a lot of experience in various policy fields where you always talk about transformation also. You have also experience on the federal German level, but also on the European level. And now you already see that regulatory questions in Germany are a bit complicated as we have regions, the federal level and the European Union. And now I would like to know how realistic you think it is to hope that these recommendations of the report by the young scientists become reality. What is your idea about that? Stefan Hübner.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I thank the Leopoldina and the Academia Brasileira de Ciências for inviting me to this panel discussion and for the possibility to give some input on this very important topic from the perspective of the German Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Regional Identity. I would like to congratulate the scientists involved to this excellent report. The recommendations are indeed fully valid in my view. It is true that in Germany, one of the biggest bottlenecks for aquaculture development is the very strict and complex regulatory and administrative framework. I do think that simplifying procedures and a better coordination between authorities could make a big difference. For example, through the introduction of a one-stop shop procedure in aquaculture administration, where the applicant would not be required to contact more than one authority during the entire process. The recommendation in the report to introduce an aquaculture officer could indeed be a viable alternative to the one-stop shop. It has to be noted that in Germany, aquaculture lies within the competence of the 16 federal states. Therefore, all changes to the administrative procedures would need to be implemented on that regional level, but maybe some better input from European laws could help here, the revision of the common fisheries policy, for example. As concerns the regulatory framework in Germany and the European Union, we face competing interests and objectives that hamper effective aquaculture development. For example, through very ambitious environmental laws, as well as strict building and planning laws. Those challenges are also addressed in our national strategic plan for aquaculture, as it was also reflected in the study. We closely work together with the aquaculture experts in the federal states to address these issues, but as concerns the implementation of the plan, we do not yet have the progress and speed that we would like to have. And currently, the number of businesses doing aquaculture in Germany is actually decreasing. So we also need to look at how to retain these businesses, many of those in classical pond aquaculture, where, for example, predators are a big issue as well. However, I do think that all entities from Germany here today agree that aquaculture has indeed a great potential to reduce our dependence on imported fish and other aquatic animals, and thus contributing to a sustainable and healthy and climate-friendly food production and food security. Therefore, we all need to work together to make it a political priority, both on federal and state level. And as my political hierarchy supports food security, competitiveness, and protection of resources, we certainly have very good arguments for aquaculture in Germany for the next years, and the report certainly is helpful here. Thank you very much so far.
Thank you so much, Stefan Hübner. And having heard that, maybe we have to stress again that both in Germany and in Brazil, the average fish consumption is below the global level. So both peoples are eating very little fish, with fish being a good protein source, and also the production of aquaculture fish in Germany and Europe is below the level, and we highly depend on fish imports, imagining Brazil having a lot of water and also Germany having a lot of chances of producing more fish by traditional and modern technological aquaculture. So let's listen to the perspective of the fishery industry. Again, we will start in Brazil with João Manuel Cordeiro Alves. You are the International Director at the Brazilian Association of Fish Farming in Sao Paulo, and you graduated in animal science, you hold a master in aquaculture, and you have over 35 years of experience in a long list of technical and animal questions concerning aquaculture as a consultant for many enterprises. So we're really curious to learn what your ideas are. Over to you. Can you switch on the microphone? It's below next to the video. João, can you switch on? There you are. Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So sorry. Thank you for your presentation of myself, and I want to thank you for the organization for inviting me, and it is a big pleasure and a big responsibility to be here to talk about Brazilian aquaculture. Brazilian aquaculture is big. It grew a lot in the last decade and has a lot to grow in the next decades. Regarding the question if aquaculture can support in a sustainable way the supply of a good protein for the humanity, not only protein but also algae can also be produced. I'm sure that it will happen. I've been stating this from a long time ago, and not because I'm an optimistic. I'm realistic. I have foundations to support this. So I'm very sure that aquaculture will do so. I want to congratulate the authors for the document they wrote. It is perfect. It has a lot of right things written. The first thing, if we talk about the bottlenecks, the tightest bottlenecks in Brazil is the licensing, and licensing is crucial for our business, for aquaculture. Leads to legal security, which is very important for enterprises. No one will put money on a thing that it's illegal or sublegal, if this term exists. I think illegal or is legal or illegal. Leads to financing. If you don't have the licenses, you cannot get money to invest, to grow. So it's very important. It's crucial. we can have access to insurance policies. We don't have it here in Brazil, mostly because we don't have many farms completely regulated. So it is crucial. Biosecurity and license do not depend on the farmers. This is the biggest issue. On the other hand, biosecurity is a very good problem we have to deal with. But biosecurity depends on training, depending on the farmer, depends on the knowledge and skill building. So depends also on the neighbors. So we need to start making our farmers, aqua farmers, more biosecure, and the neighbors will see that I'm doing very good work, and it's working. So they will also adopt the biosecurity as a big rule to follow. We have a lot of diseases here in Brazil, but all big vaccines companies and animal health companies are in Brazil. We are one of the biggest meat producers in Brazil. We have a big pork industry, cattle, dairy cattle, beef cattle, swine, poultry, and aquaculture. This year we will produce more than 1 million metric tons in aquaculture, mostly fish, a little more than almost 1 million ton, and 180 metric tons of shrimp, maybe 200. We produce 1.1 metric tons of fish and shrimp in Brazil, in farms. I'm not talking about fisheries. So it's a big business. It's more than maybe one. No, I don't tell the value because I may not be accurate, but it's a big business in Brazil. And regarding to native species, I really agree with you that we have a lot of species that can be farmed, starting from Arapaimas that both of our colleagues talk about, and tambaqui, tambacu, and many others. We have more than 2,000 species known species in Brazil, and there is a lot of species we don't even know. They don't have even a name. So we have a big potential for this. And I know we will get bigger and more sustainable because I witnessed it in the last 25 years, visiting the 26 states and our federal district. I saw high uses of antibiotics and other substances that we know are not good, but I witnessed the replacement of all these drugs by probiotics, prebiotics, immune enhancers, gut health enhancers, many products more friendly to the environment. I've seen people making money. I've seen people getting bigger, and now we have seen in Brazil, in all country, big farms doing a very good aquaculture. So I really believe in this.
Thank you so much, Joao, for your impression. I think it was all your experience promoting aquaculture for 35 years. It's very nice to see that now young scientists are repeating a lot of the things that you have said before, maybe believing in the future of that. Yeah. So now let's listen to Marco Böhr, who is a project manager and also technical biological director on the fish farm Kaiserzander. You're based close to the Dutch border, and also another spot is in Porta Westfalica in Westphalia, where I'm from. So we're nearly neighbors. You are a biologist by training, and you have completed your doctorate at the famous Alfred Wegener Institute in Bremerhaven, that is very known for sending researchers down to Antarctica. But you took a different way. You joined the big Dutch company Big Dutchman for European catfish, and then you joined Kaiser Zander to raise zander, which is pike perch in English, I think. How do you evaluate the proposals of the report? Are you impressed as Joao is, and do you go along with the recommendations?
Since I'm very much interested in increasing sustainable aquaculture, I'm very interested in increasing the German production of aquaculture. And therefore, I would like to concentrate on the first sentence or the first question, which is on planning security. So if we look at the production of fishes, especially in Germany or in Europe, there are more or less 4 methods to produce fishes. You can produce fish in earth ponds, you can produce fish in flow-through channels, you can produce fish in net cages, and the most modern way is to produce in recirculation aquaculture systems. So in Germany, the situation is that it's not anymore possible to increase the production by earth ponds, by flow-through channels, or by net cages. To get permission is very difficult in Germany. So therefore, you have only the way to produce fish in recirculation aquaculture systems and RAS systems. So my experience from the last 18 years, you mentioned that I worked for the company Big Dutchman. This company is a huge company working in the field of pig and poultry. They are producing technique for pig and poultry, and they also had the idea to produce technique for to produce fish in recirculation aquaculture systems to be more or less a global leader. And I was responsible as a manager for the customers in the vicinity of the company Big Dutchman to start fish farming in Germany in RAS systems. And I was also responsible for the permissions of these farms. And my experience was that during my time working at Big Dutchman, that I needed in past up to 4 years to get a permission for a recirculation aquaculture system plant. So now I'm 10 years later, and I'm working, as Ms. Busse mentioned, for the company Kaiser Zander, and I'm also responsible for the planning, especially here for the grow-out plant. And also I'm responsible for the different permissions that are necessary for such a plant. So, and I was wondering, because also, although my experience during the last years, it took this time again up to 4 years for our company to get all the permissions to start with our fish farm here at Porta Westfalica. So I think to get permissions in Germany, especially in Germany, is a very hard thing. I think the background or the idea why it's my impression, is that more or less the knowledge and the speech between customers and the authorities is not the same. So the authorities do not have the total knowledge about recirculation aquaculture systems. These are very, very complex systems, and therefore it is absolutely necessary, and therefore I would underline it, to introduce an aquaculture officer to support applicants during the licensing phase in generally. This is absolutely what I would welcome, and I would underline it. Maybe an idea for the future could also be that we have, for instance, in Germany, that we could have offices, they have the employees, they are very familiar with the planning of fish farms, like on the basis of RAS fish farms. And on the other hand, they are very familiar with the permission, and both together could be an interface between the authorities and these special offices to get the permission in a shorter time. So therefore, this, in my opinion, the idea to introduce an aquaculture office is a good idea, and maybe we can also say it would be very good to have experts in special offices if they work together between authorities in these offices. This is my opinion.
Thank you so much. And we can easily imagine that you need a kind of officer making it easier to get permission for your plans. So waiting 4 years is really a long time, but okay, so we need to talk about political regulations, that for sure, but I want to ask a question to all of you as the whole panel about the question of consumption, because the report also underlines it's very crucial to increase the overall fish consumption by not further depleting natural resources, so to support people's demand for fish from sustainable aquaculture. But at the same time, we face the problem that we all know there are like crustacean farms with a high use of antibiotics, and this of course harms the image of aquaculture. So how does the consumer know this is really sustainable aquaculture fish and it's sustainable to eat? It's even supporting biodiversity, as you write in some cases. So what are your ideas how to reach out to the public, to inform the public, to decide whether it's sustainable or not, and then to improve the sustainable production by buying fish from good places, from good production ways? What are your ideas on how to increase the consumption? Any of you?
Well, if I can start, then
Please, yes, please, Ivo.
we have some good examples in Brazil in which the municipalities, like in a municipal level, so like smaller level, they stimulate fish consumption over a certain period of the month, for example. So once a year or once every few months, we have the fish fairs, for example. So there's a big stimulation. The farmers bring the fish all the way to the city and they sell it like in situ for the population at a fair price. So like everybody knows that that day is to eat fish. In that occasions, then the municipalities could use the gathering of people already to make a little bit of propaganda, but the good propaganda, talking about aquaculture and saying why aquaculture is a little bit better than fisheries and how it can be more sustainable.
Thank you so much, Ivo. This makes me think maybe I can add a question asked by the audience, because someone asked whether producing salmon or very expensive fish would really help to improve food security. And now you mentioned cheap fish for people at a good price. Do you see do you see the problem also? How can we then also consider social sustainability by producing fish for everyone, not just for the luxury markets?
Definitely, and I wanted to answer to this question because like something that we wrote in the policy report also is considering the special considering the unique features of every municipality, every state within Brazil, within Germany, within any country. So if you go to the north of Brazil, we're going to eat fish that we never eat in São Paulo, in the southeast or in the south. So why don't we stimulate local species for the population, and then we can get better prices and we can get like stimulation of something that they already know. So we cannot produce salmon and sell salmon to the whole country because not everybody is going to buy that. So it's very important to see locally what are the needs and how can we adapt as well this production locally.
Thank you so much. So it's really going back to natural environments, both in the biodiversity questions and also in the social or cultural questions. Any other ideas? Yeah, okay, go ahead, Marco Böhr.
So maybe I can tell a bit from my experience. We do it here within our farm. So we offer from time to time cooking courses in our farm. We have an own cooking area in our farm, and we invite people. We show them how to handle fish, but I never expected it before. Lots of German people, they are not able to fry our Peitschkurt. They are not able to do it, and we demonstrate how to do it and how healthy it could fish be and how is it taste and so on. The next time we have a barbecue here on our station, and I think you must inform many people about how to cook fish, so that and you inform people how healthy could fish be. This is also an idea how we do it, for instance.
I've seen a few people nodding. And okay, Stefan Hübner, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think we still have in Germany, and the scientist mentioned it, a poor public perception of aquaculture. So this needs to be tackled, I think. And but the consumers are very aware of labels. So the ASC label is certainly a good start, and also the what Marco Böhr said, making it easier for the consumers to deal with fish. Probably to add regional labels if it's regionally produced and so on. I think that that could help to kind of tackle this poor perception. And at least for Germany, I could say that salmon is one of the two main species that German consumers eat. Of course, in the end it's a question of the price, whether salmon produced in Germany can compete with imported salmon. But probably, with this regional aspect and contributing to regional based nutrition could help as well. We do also have, the recommendation by the German Nutrition Society that actually says we should eat more fish than we do now. So there is quite some potential.
Thank you so much. And I absolutely, as a consumer, I do agree. I would like to know where the fish comes from and what to learn. I've seen you, João, but I would like to continue with some questions. Or do you want to add something to the question of consumption? Okay, then
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Helps me with the time. I have seen, before we come back to the question of how to make regulation easier and how to spread the knowledge, two important points. So we do have some questions concerning the environment, and we do have the question here: what can be done in aquaculture in order to prevent spreading of diseases among the fish, and also prevent to use too much antibiotics to prevent resistances. Could you answer to that, as it is very close to, well, the question of making it really sustainable? In your report, you dealt with two things: traditional aquaculture using ponds, which could be a chance to biodiversity, but then it's in contact with the natural sources. But Marco Böhr, what you're doing, we can see it's a close shot.
I only can tell it from my point of view. So I think we are very sustainable, and we are very secure by a recirculation aquaculture system, because our system is closed. It is closed to the environment. That means, on the one hand, we need well water for our plant, but on the other hand, we also dilute wastewater. But the wastewater must have the highest quality you can imagine. Here, especially at that point, we are living and have our plant, so we have highest levels of security we must fulfill, especially all the water parameters. And our plan is built at the end with an MBR. That means we have an ultrafiltration, so we are not able to give in the environment viruses or bacterials, for instance. So on the one hand, we take up clear water which is free of diseases, and we do not infect more or less the environment by viruses we do not have in our plant, and even no bacterials we have in our plant, and we do not infect in that way the environment, because we have a completely closed system. This is our way to follow and to be very much sustainable. We have we don't use any antibiotics, because we increase the water quality within our plant very, very high, because we are working with a very sensible fish species. With pike perch is extremely sensible, and therefore we keep to the water quality within the system very, very high.
Thank you so much.
I
So
would
this
like
is,
to,
yeah. Okay, Christoph, and then I come back to João. But okay, go ahead, Christoph.
yeah, I would like to add to that. That is certainly one aspect. Water quality, that's like extremely important, having high water quality for the fish. But there's three other aspects. Coming back to the antibiotic use. From my experience from the salmon industry, antibiotic use has decreased dramatically because of the increase of the use of vaccinations. And so for the most common diseases, there are very common vaccines, not only for salmon, but also for other species, that prevent certain types of diseases, or at least prevent the majority of them. And then also on the feed side, that was also addressed before, there's many ways: probiotics, prebiotics, gut health. There's many ways through feed to improve the immune system of the fish and the resistance of the fish. And the third thing is domestication. You can domesticate, chicken, cattle, and so on. They have been domesticated for thousands of years. Many fish species have not. And salmon is actually one of the, and also tilapia to a certain degree, but one of the success stories when it comes to domestication, also with regards to disease resistance, but also efficiency of protein conversion, energy conversion, and so on. So I would say water quality, vaccines, feed, and domestication, really going into selecting for the traits that you want. And also coming back to a question before, how to address not only selling or producing expensive salmon, but also maybe going more down the food chain, going to more omnivorous, very high performing species that have not been domesticated as much as pirarucu, pacu, or also African catfish, species that are very, very efficient naturally. And if you then go ahead and go down the domestication route, there's lots of potential there.
Like the good old carp that the Greenpeace report on sustainable fish capture says is the only fish to eat with a good conscience, because it eats everything and it's doing a good role in the environment. I'm just thinking about the question how to prevent when the breeding and domestication of chicken, etc., was improved to a high level of efficiency that caused a lot of health problems of the chicken. I'm just thinking how you might prevent this with the fish. But I do have a question for Jean. The question goes that the report promotes sustainable and circular aquaculture systems, and she wants to know, the participant wants to know whether water and effluent treatment, aqua feed innovations, waste reuse strategies, whether these strategies are feasible in Brazil or are already being operated. Can you switch on your microphone again? João, we can't hear you.
Okay,
there you
sorry.
go. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I couldn't understand the question.
Do I read again? The report promotes sustainable and circular aquaculture systems, such as integrated water and effluent treatment, aquafeed innovations, and water reuse strategies. Which of these innovations are most feasible in Brazil?
Well, I think it most feasible is the improvement of aqua feeds, and it have been done, and aqua feeds are much better. But I think reuse of water is feasible, using some system like biofloc systems. The biofloc technology is very good. We use the nutrient multiple times because the nutrient it remains in the water, produces bacteria, produces algae, and the fish feed on this. So this, I think everything is feasible and necessary. Aquaculture, we know aquaculture is sustainable and will be much more day by day, but it is not enough for the people, for the fish and shrimp and for aquaculture products consumer. It's not clear. We need but we need to show we are here in this audience and in this panel. Everyone agrees with this statement, but people do not know. They think we are great devils.
So I think we have to follow Ivo's and Marco's suggestions on how to promote sustainable aquaculture fish. I do have a last question for Ives that goes that the report challenges highlights the challenges as climate change and biodiversity protection, and also the resource efficiency across the whole value chain. And how is the ministry, like the Brazilian ministry, incorporating these considerations for your national strategies? So far we have talked about these high-tech aquaculture things, but the report also mentions that small ponds are also giving a high value to the local biodiversity. So do you also see a chance for this? What are your strategies, Ives?
Well, here in the ministry, we are in the discussions and we are in the national climate plan, and we have some actions put in the plan and also in the national bioeconomy plan, so that we wasn't included before, and we are bringing the aquaculture for the light at this moment, right? So this is part of it, and we have some projects that are interesting to, like the adaptation of some realities we have in Brazil. And one we have that's very interesting, it's the internalization of the farm ships, the shrimping farms, through the Caatinga, the Agreste. It's the savanna in Brazil where we have a naturally salt water, and we can bring this salt water to produce shrimp in this region that the people can plant or do agriculture in general because of this salt water. And at this way we can turn the production bigger, and we can lower the impact among the mangroves in Brazil, that is a historic problem with the shrimp production. And that's it. We have some projects in the way with these plans that will be launched in some way at the COP30. We are in it. We are working for having a better aquaculture, more sustainable in this way.
Thank you so much, Ives. It's nearly closing time, and I tried to sum up that we have to make bureaucracy more efficient and to make it easier to produce new aquaculture plants or even ponds. And we do have to spread the knowledge, and we have to make it more easy for consumers to find out what is really sustainable fish. And we have chances to promote this by just simply showing it, as Marco Böhr has explained, or by also offering cheap meals in cities. We have to focus on the local fish production, not just on salmon or something that is produced as perceived as a luxury product, but we have to start locally, and officer as an somebody in between, an aquaculture expert in between the administration and also the producers, could help to make all this easier. And then all of you agree that there are big chances for more sustainable fish production. Unfortunately, I have to suggest to make another round of these discussions, because there are a few questions that we didn't make to answer within this 60 minutes that we had. There are a lot of questions on the social aspect, and an appeal to also consider not sustainability only economically and on ecologically, but also on the social level. Again, coming back to salmon as a luxury product, there are questions concerning the climate change. How is it impacting the production of fish? And also there are questions about funding, how to get money to get more research on all these questions that you are already dealing with the questions of resources and of biosecurity, etc. So maybe I ask both academia and the German Leopoldina to continue with this discussion. So thank you very, very much for joining us. I have to close. I would like to very briefly to ask, do you have any suggestions? Will you eat fish in the evening? Any of you? I thought you would raise your hands now. Thank you so much.
Just linking what Iva has said, I would point that here in Brazil, at this moment, we are in the Fish Product Week. So it's to stimulate people to eat fish products, and it's a very interesting way to bring this to the people.
Thank you so much. I'm outing myself to be a vegetarian, which is a very sustainable way of eating too. But if you eat fish, it has to be sustainable. And I've seen you're working on a good sustainable solution all over. This session has been recorded, and it will be made available on the official YouTube account of both the Leopoldina and in Brazil of the Academia Brasileira de Ciências. And you can, if you liked what we talked about, you can send it and share it in your social media accounts to spread the knowledge, to spread the story. Thank you so much for your work. It has been a pleasure talking to you. And maybe last idea, next time I wish the female scientists and fish producers to be on this panel too. So if you're out there next time, if the Leopoldina invites you, please come and join our panel. Let's talk about fish production in a social, economic and ecological way to make it more sustainable. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a very nice evening.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.
Bye-bye.